Hey, good evening. It's 9 o'clock and I feel like I'm turning into a pumpkin. I'm actually really tired, but I am waiting for my Instacart shopper to arrive. And it dawned on me that mid last week, I had made a post talking about the emotional cycle of change and the different techniques that I had used to break certain patterns within myself and still continue to use, and I also share with my clients as well. So while I'm sitting here, the house is pretty quiet. There's no TV on. The baby fell asleep. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I thought that I would talk to you about what is called EFT tapping, which is called Emotional Freedom Technique. Now, in my post, I had shared that EFT and hypnosis were two tools that I had used for myself. EFT would probably be more recent than the hypnosis. The hypnosis, the meditation, things like that, that is something that has been ongoing for me, and hence the reason why I became a certified hypnotherapist. Now, I want to talk to you about EFT, again, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I also like to refer to it as empowered thinking, forward thinking, empowered forward thinking. So EFT, empowered forward thinking, is the way that I like to look at it, because when you are finished tapping, you feel more empowered. Your thinking is in a forward movement, right? And you are you're just feeling so much better. Your thinking and everything is just in a much better place. So I want to teach you this, and this is something that is a really big part of my coaching, and that's what I want to share with you, is because a lot of times people don't really know what it is that I do. And so EFT is very powerful. Now, before you start, you first let me give you a little bit of background. So what is it? Why do you do it? So EFT basically helps you to release certain beliefs around certain things. Also, in addition, it's really good to release like anxiety, fear, just the pressure of stress. So like, for example, it gets extremely stressful around here. A 2-year-old constantly, wanting and needing me. Blake wanting to eat tons of food, and it gets extremely, like, sometimes I feel like I'm, like my friend Sandra talks about, like the feeling of being in a pressure cooker. And that's a really great way to describe it. And maybe you feel that way sometimes. And so what this does is it helps to give the thoughts and the thinking in your mind a voice. So it's kind of like, another way that I describe it is kind of like verbal journaling. So instead of journaling on a piece of paper, you were actually journaling, but you're speaking it out. Now, let's say you are on an airplane. You don't necessarily want to be tapping on your face and speaking out loud. Like my mentor has shared with me, that he presses on these points so that he can get the same effect, and he thinks these thoughts and such, but it doesn't make a spectacle out of them. You know what I'm saying? And so, because he doesn't like to fly. And so it helps him when he gets on an airplane. So what you do is you evaluate like where you are, like what you're feeling. So like right now, I would say I'm tired, but I'm a little wired because of the stress that I'm feeling. Now, stress is something that we definitely want to manage, because if we're not managing our stress, that's going to affect us negatively in a lot of areas of our life. So managing your stress is a big mover and shaker when it comes to making big changes in your life, especially if it has to do with weight loss and things like that. So you want to, from a 1 to a 10, ask yourself, where do I feel about this situation? Now, you could be in a situation, let's say you had a conversation with somebody, or maybe you're going to have a conversation with somebody, or maybe you're going to an interview and you have this anxiety and you just don't want to walk in feeling that nervous energy. So what tapping does is it helps you to press on these areas of your body where we have these energy meridians, which help to release what's blocking, really, and helps to continue and better the flow of our energy, because we have these energy meridians through the body. And so this is something that is super simple and it's very effective, and I'm going to teach this tool to you, okay? So you rate yourself. So right now I would say I'm a 7. The number 7 keeps coming up in my mind, and so I want to tap through the way that I'm feeling, and then I'm going to evaluate how I feel after each round that I do my tapping, okay? So when you begin, what you do is you start with what's called the karate chop, and you will state out loud, basically, like, let's say I say, even though I feel extremely stressed out from, you know, the domestic duties and the family stuff that's going on right now, I completely love and honor myself. And you would want to repeat this 3 times. Even though I, you know, feel stressed from the family household, I completely love and honor myself. And even though I am feeling stressed out from the daily duties, I completely love and honor myself. Now, do you notice I said 3 different things, which is totally fine. Or I could, you know, say the same thing over and over again. So I'm tapping here. So I'm getting started. Now, again, this is a tap, but if I wanted to, I could then, you know, I could turn this into like a pressing, and then I could press. Now you can do 2, both sides, or you could do 1. It's totally up to you. So you would start like above your eyes. So let's press here. Now, again, I could tap. You would want to tap like 7 to 12 times, and you just say what comes to your mind, right? So I could say, man, today was such a stressful day. I can really feel internally how it feels like a pressure cooker. I just feel like I need to release a bunch of stress. I don't know exactly what caused the stress. Is it like a collaboration of all of it? Or was there something specific that was really weighing on me? Then I go to the top of the head, so that's round 1. Then I continue and I go through my thoughts again. Ayana was especially clingy. Her throwing up in the car really didn't help matters. I missed going to the gym because of it. I was actually on my way to the gym. That was a real bummer that I was not able to go and work out. So that's probably part of the reason why I feel so extremely stressed. I wasn't able to release any stress during my workout like I normally would. So that actually makes me feel a little bit better, you know, recognizing what the stressor was. However, you see how I just released that? Do you see that? Do you see that breath come out of me? However, all the domestic duties that I do around the house really is becoming extremely overwhelming. I'm so grateful that Kimmy, my dear friend, has been coming over and helping me. That's round 2. Still feeling it, but I feel like I'm down a little bit, right? So I'm really glad that I posted on Facebook as well as on care.com about hiring an assistant to help me with these things, because feeling this stress doesn't really feel so good. But it's a good thing that I have this technique to help me through this. Okay, so that was what, 3 rounds? So do you see how I just verbalized like everything that was going on in my mind? And so now if I reevaluate, okay, so I was at a 7, I would say I'm about a 5. But did you literally see the release that I had? If you saw it, that right there was basically when I released some of that stress. And I could physically, you know, feel that. Now, if I decided like, hey, you know what, I'd really like to get down to a 3, then I'm going to continue to tap, right? So I'll continue to tap, and, you know, I could press if I want. You know, I could do both sides if I want, just kind of depends. I could just press and say, you know, I'm really grateful that I do have the help that I have. I'm really looking forward to hiring somebody to really help me through this process. It's exciting for me because my business is growing, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of like going through. I prefer the tapping actually, because it feels better to me. But for some people, they like the, you know, like the pressing, you know, just up to you, however you want to do it. So you press or you tap, right? And then you just keep going and say, okay, here I go again. There's another release. You see that? Blake is on his way to bed. He just went downstairs. He showered. He's ready to go. So therefore, that's another stressor that is now going to sleep. So that's going to be even more quiet. Now I have my what's her name? I have my Instacart lady on her way. So now I'm going to put away the groceries, and it's going to be kind of nice that I'll be able to do it in silence. I feel better. I don't feel the anxiety and the stress that I did. I feel better. Okay, so now I would say that I'm about a 4.5, maybe a 4. Isn't that interesting? Pretty fascinating stuff, isn't it? So tapping is something that is very, very powerful. Now, what I could do is take things an extra step, and I do this sometimes, and I recommend that you do this too. After I release and I feel where I want to feel, like I get to the place where I want to feel, then I will go in and tap in like a more positive affirmation. So I don't feel that heaviness in my chest. I released, I feel better. Then sometimes what I will do is I will say positive things like, you are worthy. I love you, Kelly. You are worthy. You are amazing. You are loving. You are a good mom. You are worthy again. You know, just whatever comes to my mind. You are empowered. You are worthy, right? And so I could just continue to go and do that. And then it fills me, right? So it's kind of like I release and then I fill. And so you can tap for as long as you want. And this is something that could be helpful with cravings. This is something that could be, helpful with just, again, not just emotions, but something that could also help you to kind of figure things out. So I used tapping once when I was kind of like confused as to why I felt a certain way about a situation. I just couldn't figure out why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. So I tapped on it, and what came out was interesting. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. I didn't feel an alignment about a certain situation. And so when I tapped through it, the tapping actually helped to bring forth that information that I needed. Okay, so I needed to hear it, I needed to release it, and I needed to hear it, recognize it, and release it, right? So again, it's called emotional freedom technique. That's, the actual official name for it, but I like to personally call it empowered forward thinking, because it helps me to become empowered. It helps my thinking to go into a much better positive place. I'm more present. I am in the present moment. I'm not worried about what has happened in the past, I'm not worried about what's happening in the future, that could happen in the future, and I'm not sad about what happened in the past. So that's where a lot of our emotions are coming from, is we're not being present. And so we end up, like worried about shit that's probably never going to happen. And we're living in a chapter that's already done, gone. And we have shame, guilt, all of these things, which is a lot of the work that I do. People don't recognize that weight loss has a lot to do with what's inside and that core stuff. And so lately I've been talking a lot about my binge drinking, the binge eating, all of that stuff that I had gone through because I was trying to fill a hole within myself that I just needed healing. I just needed to heal, and that's really what I do as a coach, is I help people heal. They think that they need to lose weight. That's what they think. And yeah, they want to. That's a desire. It's all of these things that they want and desire, but it's never going to happen unless they truly do the work. So if somebody comes to me and they say, hey, you know what, I want this, I want this, I want this. And that's why I talk to every single person in depth that comes to me, because they're not always going to be a good fit for me. If they're looking for quick fixes, I'm not that person. I will probably potentially work with them later. because they're tired of the quick fixes and they recognize I need more, right? So I help people to kind of uncover and peel away those layers. And it was interesting. I was talking with my mentor, and we were talking about like all of this stuff. And in this post, and maybe you didn't read the post or see the post, but he basically said, you know what, Kelly, he said, you're a lot of things. You know a lot about a lot of stuff. He says, you're a lot like me. You like to teach. He said, but I can tell you one thing that you are, and that you should really start to tell people. He said, you are a pattern breaker. You help people break these patterns that are debilitating, that are dysfunctional, and that have potentially been with them since they were at the, a very, very, very young age. Because our subconscious mind, you guys, is only 7 years old. And so a lot of what we do and the way that we carry ourselves and the way that we operate has a lot to do with our influential adults that we were around as a kid. So when you have those moments of, oh my God, that's what my mom did, or oh my God, I'm totally doing, like sometimes I notice I twitch like my mom. My mom had these little twitches, and not that it's a negative thing, but I noticed that I did that as well. And obviously I picked that up as a child and growing up. So it's really fascinating stuff. So there's a book out there that I'm actually getting ready to read, and it's called Not Yours to Own. And actually, my mentor Jade actually said, I think you should read that. So that's why I got certified in NLP. I knew that I had to help people work through the shit that I had to work through as well. Now, mind you, it's still there. The thoughts are still there, you guys, but I do not listen to it. And I know that it is something that is not me anymore. Because you have a choice. You have a choice. Okay, so my Instacart person is almost here, but I just wanted to share this with you. If you have any questions, if you're curious about tapping or any of this stuff or what I do, let me know. Just message me. We can chat. No big deal, no pressure. But I do have lots more coming in 2020, and I'm super, super excited. So stay tuned, my friends. Have a wonderful night. Sleep well, and I hope that this served you well. Good night.